if you don't speak the language, you might as well listen, because I'm going to say most of the things in English anyway. Igbo kwenu. Igbo kwenu. Kwezuenu. It's about the idiosyncrasy of Igbo language. I'm talking about the peculiar characteristics of that language. It's one language, but it has so many dialects, right? And the dialectics are just so much that if you want to teach that language and you want to teach somebody the language, you should be aware of actually the needs of the person. Or if the person spends money to learn the language and it does not fulfill the needs, it becomes a waste, right? It's very important that we teach our young ones, especially those born in, born abroad, outside Igbo land, the language. Encourage them to learn the language. And it's a good thing. It's a really good thing that a lot of them are beginning to be interested in learning Igbo, right? And at this point, I just don't want us to drop the ball. We, the elders, who are going to be teaching them the language. That's majority of Igbo people that live in America, in Britain, in Belgium, in Ireland, in Scotland, in Germany, all over the world, possibly finished high school and left their community and left Nigeria. And then they got to America, other parts of the world, Brazil, and what have you, settled there and learned their language and their culture. So, but they still remember the Igbo language that they knew before they left. So, a lot of Igbo people in the diaspora, when they get back home, what they speak, and this is a fact that we have to take very, very serious. The language they speak is the one that they used to know before they left. And over the years, now look at somebody my age, for instance, who possibly finished high school, decades ago, right? And getting back home, speaking the Igbo that he learned at that point when he went to school in a community that's was in the rural area. They were all good schools, great schools, right? But they were not in the city. So his schoolmates, classmates and everything were people from the same catchment area, more or less. And then he opens his mouth to speak the language he knows, and people back home that he has gone back to meet now in the village have sort of graduated. It's not really a good thing, as you would know, as we continue in this discussion. They have had the original thing that was being spoken at that time sort of adulterated. That's the way I look at it now. And you sound kind of archaic to them. Actually, you sound archaic, and you're archaic, right? Because they have improved upon, in their own thinking, what you speak now. So that is what happens. And if you're speaking to your children here in the diaspora, overseas, you're speaking what you know. And that's what it used to be. And that's the original thing, actually. That's the real thing, right? So, and somebody now decides to teach this young person, who is your child, how to speak Igbo. We have to take cognizance of the fact that these kids that are learning how to speak, they want to speak the language so they'll be able to bond with their family. Then when they get back home to Nigeria, they'll be able to talk with grandma, grandpa, the uncles, and the little ones, their nephews and whatever, and their cousins. They don't want to be lost. They want to understand the jokes, the things that they say about them. And somebody who teaches them the language here is possibly now trying to teach them that elitist Igbo, the elitist Igbo that was developed over the years, that they call it Central Igbo. And then he gets back to his family and he speaks what he has been told, and his family don't even understand it. Right. So if you're teaching somebody the language, you have to know a little bit about the background of the person. And when somebody wants to teach you a language and asks you, where are your parents from? When did your parents come to this country and stuff like that? the question is being asked in good faith. The teacher wants to help you, wants to really know if he can help you. So this is a very serious, discussion that we really have to take very serious. The nomenclature of every language is very, very important. And now talk about idiosyncrasy. It's really, really very important in Igbo. Let's pick up a word, one word now, that we all know in our own little way. You want to teach a child who was born and raised in Chicago, Igbo, and you tell them that far means dianya, F-A-R, far. It is far, or dianya, that's right. That's what the Central Igbo will be. Right. And this kid gets back to his village. Let's think of a city now, a town that's well known in Igbo land. Okay, Ihela. He goes to Ihela. And he goes to Mbrapaka, or Okohia, or wherever, one of these villages, with his family. And then he wants to talk to his grandma in the village, right? And he says he wants to go to the stream, And then he brings his little cheat sheet, right? And looks at it. I want to go to the stream. Acharam ega miri or acharam ega iyi, right? That means the Igbo man actually taught so well. The person that taught him, if he told him that it is iyi, right? Okay. I said, I want to go to the stream. Right? Okay, he picked up that. He goes to the grandma. Acharam ega iyi, acharam ega miri. The grandma will say, okay, oh, that's good, say in our own language, in our own dialect. But then he will say, the guy would now say, Odianya, just ask, is it far? And the grandma looks at him. If she understands what he asked, because a lot of people in these local communities don't understand what we call Central Igbo today. When I get back to my village, they say things to me like, the older folks, when I used to be in radio in Nigeria, they said, look, Nwora, so Adama no ifu unu na-ekwu na unu si n'unu na-agụ news. Maka na Igbo unu na-asụ kịta abụrụkwa Igbo mma. O nwere ebe ọzọ nji asụ Igbo ka na-asụ eri ụwa. Ma unu na-asụ Igbo unu Adama aghọta ifu unu na-ekwu. And I don't blame them. Because they didn't go to the to college to learn all the amalgamated Igbo that we call Central Igbo, and you're not speaking their language. So what they do is they tune off, and we're supposed to be broadcasting in the indigenous language, but we're not speaking indigenous language to a lot of people, So but I do not want to go into that, because you'll start asking me, how can we get broadcasters from all the villages to speak their languages, So, that issue, I believe, needs to be dealt with anyway, and it's being dealt with in a way now that the language is kind of being centralized, but in the process, we are losing a lot of languages. We don't have to lose those dialects. We don't have to. We have to preserve them, because that's the beauty of the language, right? So now getting back to this young man in Ihala, in Mbrakbaka, with the family, the grandma. And then the grandma now understands somehow, Dianya is a question, is it far? And what will she say? She's an Ihala woman. I'll tell you what she will say, if it's far. O Toronto. O Toronto. That's the way the Ihala person would say it. It's far. And then this young man was like, oh, Toronto. I go back. So he goes back. He's from Chicago. I said, but Dad, my grandma was talking about Toronto. Is this the river, the stream? Is it in Toronto? That is the problem you have created for him by teaching him something that he cannot be communicated with in the village. But if you had known this young man is from Ihala, the parents are from Ihala, find out. Why do you want to learn the language? I want to learn it because I want to, communicate with my family. I want to communicate with my friends when I travel back home, And then you know where he comes from. And if you can't help him, you let him know. So it is far to him should be O Toronto. O Toronto. It's far. That's the way the hell a man would say it, you know. And then if it's somewhere else in Anambra State, they would say Oteraka or Otelaka. I was born in Afikpo. I was raised in Kwale. So the first Igbo I learned was what we call Okwane, or what the speakers called Okwane. Some of them do not even believe or agree that it's Igbo, you know. And I still remember the basics of that language. And I do know that if somebody from Kwale, I mean, he has Igbo name, you know, Chike or Kocha or something like that. You know, if it's your name and you're from Kwale, it's just a coincidence. So, Chiko Kocha, that's Igbo name. He's an Igbo guy, right? But he's from Okwane, you know. He says, what do they call bushmeat in Igbo? And you say, Anuofia. If they, you know, trying to be a little bit Anambra, you know, come closer to him. Or Anuo here. That's the central thing. And he gets back home and they'd say, hey, Anugboko. He gets confused. You have not educated him. Because that was what they say. They would say Anugboko, you know. And I remember they called a snail Anugboko. I lived in other parts of Igbo land and have friends from all over. So I know that, you know, everybody, an Owerri man will speak his dialect to an Owerri person. Even sometimes to an Igbo person who wants to speak, he speaks his dialect. They're very proud of it. And I love them for that. An Oka man from Anambra State, if you come back to the village and you don't speak their dialect, they will look at you as, you know, man, you go back to the city or just speak English. They don't want any adulteration of their indigenous dialect. And, you know, I'm so proud of them for that. And we have so many communities like that. I think we should be proud of. What is our inheritance? What are the languages? We shouldn't let these, you know, languages, these dialects die. You know, we should preserve them. And to me, we lose a lot by not doing that. You know, we call names wrongly. Igbo people call, I hear them say names like Achebe or Achebe or Achebe or Anichebe. That's the full name. The erudite writer who, you know, died recently, Chinua Anichebe. If you call the name out, the both names out in full. Ani is like God of the land. It's a God of the land, you know. Chebe, let Ani preserve, let Ani protect. You know, so if you don't call the name right, first of all, you're losing the message right away. Choba Okadibo, I remember that, you know, that great guy, you know, who was a politician, eventually was, you know, a professor, you know, great guy from Obunike, you know, Anambra State. His name is Choba Okadibo. And you hear a lot of people say Okandibo and everything. When you say that, you've not even started calling the name. And I do love other languages for that, because I dealt with so many languages, you know, being a broadcaster in Nigeria. In Lagos, you got to say Awolowo. And everybody had to learn it. But a lot of Igbo speakers don't care. So no, whatever. Just say it, whatever. No. We have to be able to say exactly what we, because if we can call our German names, and I mean the composer, Bach, we all say it rightly. We call all these names. Blagojevich, we don't say Blagojevich or whatever. Why wouldn't we call our names correctly? You see, there's so much to talk about before we even start learning, before we even start unwinding, before we even start being proud of who we are. We have to know who we are first, originally.
baby. Oh mama baby. Oh mama baby. Oh mama baby.
In the process of discussing these things, I want the young learners, those who are learning, our young ones who want to learn the language, to listen to these discussions, to these little talks that I'll give. Sometimes it will be a discussion, and I do ask anybody who can reach me to reach me, and see how we can make that happen. Let it be a discussion. Let's do this for posterity, right? And teach people what it's supposed to be. I remember in Radio Nigeria, in those days, they used to have they say Kandisiaso, and then they do a forum, and everybody speaks in his or her own dialect. I loved it. We shouldn't let these beautiful dialectic differences we have disappear. Now, let me tell you a little story. I come from Abatete, Uruanyodida, which is just very close to the stream that divides Abatete with Oruku and Alo. That's right. And Alo the other side, Oruku the other side, right? And you go to the stream, and you come from this side of Abatete, we all meet at the stream. Then the Oruku community, the young people, when we were kids, we all meet and we're all swimming together. And we all have different dialects. That's how enigmatic Igbo is, Igbo language. It's an enigma, and we have to learn it very, very, very carefully. A young man, that they look at him, oh, this one is from the city. Do you know how to swim? Let's put the question in, the way the Abatete young kid, the village champion will ask him, you know how to swim? You may gummili. That's right, you may gummili. And the kid would say, no or yes or whatever, depending on what's in his mind at that time. And then he would warn him, if you step in this point, this stream is going to sweep you away. He would say, Abakwaneba, Akana is on Yokweba, Mili Noa. That is this stream, Mili Noa. That's a patete, Mili Noa, Iburu Diru or Buru Wadiru. The Oruku young man would say, Mili Nwa. Mili Nwa, Ivuru Jewara. Ivuru Jewara. The stream will pick you up and run away with you, run off with you. You just say either Wadiru or Diru. Uvurugu Jewara, Mili Vurugu Jewara. They are all in the same community, just separated by a little stream. Okay, that's my language, and I'm so proud of it. So you're hearing something else entirely. It's the same thing. That's just the idiosyncrasy of the Igbo language. I'll leave you at this point today. I don't want to, I don't want to be an overkill. So that you join me again next time. I'm Nwora, Aghadi. They also call me Victor. And I love languages, and I love my language. I love my language, Igbo language. Was not exactly my first language, like I'm trying to say now. If you want to say first language I babbled with, it would be English, it would be Pidgin English. It would be like Okwani and all that. But I had to learn Igbo because I got caught up in the community during the war as a kid. Grew up there, went to high school, and then went to Lagos. And then met other languages and loved all of them, and tried to be part of all of them. And, I think language should be a unifying factor, amongst people of the world, especially people who have been brought together as to belong belonging to one nation. It should be a unifying factor, but that doesn't mean that we have to degenerate or disenfranchise any person's language, to choose the other one. No, we all have to speak all of them. If possible, learn all of them, because human brain is wired that way to learn languages. Just show interest and you pick it up. That's how it is. Thank you.